Hello and welcome to episode number 10. Who would believe that we will make it to 10? But anyway, we did it. So, welcome to episode number 10 from the World of Presentations podcast with 356 Labs. And again, it's not just me. But again, I have another person from our design crew with me joining here in this special episode, I would call it, Milena. This is a special episode. Number 10 is a special number, at least for us. It makes sense to be special. Anyway, so again, we're continuing the series of introducing our designers to the podcast and kind of asking them to speak about slide design and all things design related. So, Milena, welcome back after being part of episode number 8. And yeah, why don't you kind of introduce yourself with a few sentences or more? Let's see.
Thank you, Bobby. Hello, everyone. As Bobby said, I'm Milena, and I'm part of the design crew of 356 Labs. I am most passionate about digital design, illustrations, typography, lettering, and etc. And I kind of love marketing and advertising, and I'm very passionate about it as well.
Yeah, she that's, by the way, that's true. You have to check her Instagram profile. She is a rock star on Instagram. So what was your profile name? Like the profile name?
Thank you, Bobby. Milena.Trifonova.
Okay, so yeah, if you take a look at her profile, you will guess that she's kind of a bit more into it than the normal person. Yeah. Anyway, I was about to say how this episode actually started and how we restarted it, but that's maybe for another time. Yeah. Anyway, that's between just the people in the room here. So
we'll have it as our little secret.
Yeah, Milenka, you have been part of other very different types of organizations before joining 356 Labs and this world of presentations. So what are the industries, what are the companies that you were before in? What were the types of things that you were doing there? Because you mentioned your interests and stuff, but you have very wide type of very wide experience in the world of business, let's call it. So what were the types of companies and industries that you were part of before?
You can say so.
Yeah.
I was first a trainee at a big corporation, which is a worldwide corporation. Yeah. So that showed me really the business inside and what are I've learned what a KPI is. Let's say it this way. Numbers. Yeah. Not many designers are interested in KPIs and metrics. And
not many designers know what KPI is.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
Let's start from there. Okay.
So that showed me what a marketing goal could be.
Yeah.
Then I was a trainee at a startup.
Okay, so you saw the corporate, then the startup.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a big jump.
It's a different world in there.
Yeah, I don't know which one is higher. Maybe, let's say they are both even, but it was very different.
Yeah, and then?
In the startup, I saw the dynamics of the work environment. I saw very interesting people who were very energetic and had very different ways of seeing life and what a modern design is and what modern people would prefer to see.
Okay.
As in the corporation, you're seeking more the average, let's say.
Okay. For most of maybe.
Yeah. And then I was in, let's say, middle-sized company. They call themselves a startup. However, it's a company of 80 to 100 people. So
for the Bulgarian market, that's not a startup anymore. Actually, for no market, that's a startup anymore.
I don't think that's a startup.
Anymore also, yeah.
Yeah, but it was again a very dynamic culture, and there I worked for different brands because it was an agency, and we worked for very different brands, and I saw how the different brands approach their target.
Yeah, which is also a completely different world. If you see the startup, then the medium-sized company, and then the corporate, or in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It is so different in all of them, and all of them are fighting different types of problems.
Exactly, and they're targeting different audiences, and
Yeah.
they're approaching them by very different
But all of them are
means.
presenting, right? Like all of them have to be presenting at some point in their careers. If we can say a corporate or a
Yeah.
company has a career, which we may want to say
A
it has
path.
some type of a career, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of them are presenting. So
Yeah, exactly. Everybody needs to present in
Yeah.
the business world. For the corporation, you have lots and lots of presentations that are in-house.
Yeah.
So let's say
internal, you mean?
internal,
Okay.
yeah, internal
Okay.
presentations. So let's say one of the departments needs to present to the other department what you're going to do.
Yeah.
That's just typical. Then in the startup, probably not internal presentations as much, but there are many presentations to promote your startup to different
Partners, vendors,
partners or
clients also.
yeah.
You need clients if you're a startup, that's for sure.
for sure. For sure.
Actually, if you're a corporate, you also need clients. At
Everybody
some
needs
point,
clients.
you
Yeah.
need clients at some point.
Otherwise, they're starved to death.
Yeah, after years. Yeah, we were joking like a few years ago for HP, which was going down like very dramatically in the last few years, and I was like, you don't get it, guys. Like HP cannot die. It has so much cash behind the scenes that it will take it years of not doing anything properly to die. And so it's the case. Like 3 years later, HP is still alive, not doing anything that like magical. But yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
it's good for HP, but yeah, but we've seen some big companies die. You know.
yeah, that's true.
Even the social media called Vim, how was it called? Vine.
Vine, yeah.
Yeah,
That was bought
with
by
the
Twitter, by the
short.
way, right?
I don't know what
They
happened
bought
with
it. They bought it. Twitter bought
So
it.
they killed it.
It died by itself, but
Oh,
Twitter
okay.
killed it. Twitter bought it, and then Vine died.
Oh, okay.
But there is an idea for restarting it. So there would be, a few months ago, there was someone from Vine, the previous Vine, that said that there will be Vine 2.
Oh wow, really?
And it will be called Vine 2. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, seriously. I noticed that there was an article in Business Insider.
Then all the sad Viners that went to YouTube
Yeah.
will be now happy
Yeah,
again.
hopefully. So all of them are presenting. All of them are presenting.
Yeah,
and all of them
are
kind of
present.
benefit, or at least we can say, hey, if you make and you deliver your presentations well, you would benefit, right?
Yeah.
There are no exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, no
You've
exceptions.
seen it.
Yeah, I wanted to say that in an agency, you need to present often to pitch your idea to a client. So that's very crucial. Let's say the internal presentations are not that crucial, but when you're pitching your idea, you kind
Yeah.
of have to.
It is dangerously important
Yeah.
to make that in a proper way, because otherwise you lose business. Okay, so being part of all of those organizations, or should I say not all of those organizations, but all of those different types of businesses in terms of their sizes, what have you seen? Have you seen people who are doing their presentations by themselves? Or were they working with someone else or hiring external help for like helping them to build those presentations? What was the most frequently seen case? What do you think?
Well,
For startups, for mid-size,
yeah,
are they doing
the-
their presentations alone or?
the corporation had a template which wasn't used very beautifully, let's say.
Okay.
It was kind of chaos. And
Design chaos.
Yeah, I believe you're going to talk about that topic in the next episode with
Maybe.
Maria.
We'll see.
Yeah. So for the startup, the designer who I worked with was a very good designer that had many skills except designing. So
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so he made a very good presentation when it was needed. And the agency was again relying on its internal designers. However, designers are not always well trained about presentations.
Yeah, I don't know, by the way, I don't know how many of you guys that are listening to this podcast are hearing a dog barking outside. We're in a professional like professional sound studio, and even here I believe you'll be able to hear, even after we edit this file, you'll be able to hear that there is a dog somewhere.
Let's hope you will not hear it.
Let's hope you won't hear it, but if you do so, please stay with us. It will be fine at the end. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're talking about presentation. So all of them are more or less doing it. All of those like startups, the startup, the mid-size, and the corporate, all of them in one way or the other were doing their presentations by themselves.
Yeah, by themselves. I personally wasn't doing the presentations. My main role wasn't a presentation designer.
Yeah, back then, okay.
Yeah.
And now we see something else. With our clients, we see something else. Obviously, they're kind of looking for help. So
they realize how crucial it is to hire
Yeah.
somebody who understands
Yeah,
this
and-
material.
yeah, and it's kind of shocking that people nowadays think that, I don't know whether or not it can be seen during the briefs, even though we kind of select carefully the clients that we work with. But sometimes you kind of notice that even our clients are like, we know that stuff. Like it is, we need you, but we kind of know that stuff.
Yeah, we
even
are
though-
living in a digital world where everybody knows everything. So
Yeah, that's true. But what's based on like you have been with us for what more than 1 year, right? Or not more?
let's say almost a year.
Almost a year. So what is the most crucial, like, what do you think in terms of like, in order for that project, in order for that presentation to become the success that it becomes later on, because we have done some really insane stuff with our clients. Once they look for help, what is the component or the components that are playing huge role to make that project successful? Like, what are you seeing?
Well, for me,
Maybe not just design, like maybe not just from design perspective.
yeah, in general perspective, not only in presentation design, it's just in any kind of work where two different companies are working together.
Yeah.
It's very important to have collaboration
Okay.
and to have constant. Oh, the dog is barking again.
Yeah, that dog is
and,
in the house.
Yeah. It's helping me with my words.
Okay.
Well, what I was saying was that it's very important to have a constant conversation between the two companies,
yeah.
the two parts, yes. Because for a designer, for the person who is creating the presentation, it might be the storyteller that makes the content. It's very important to align some decisions that you're making along the way,
Yeah.
and to ask how they would say something. Because let's say we had a client that was very expressive when saying certain parts,
Yeah.
and not as much when saying others. And
Yeah.
I think that it's best to align the design the same way as
Yeah, and you cannot
client
know
says
that
it.
without like talking to each other.
Yeah,
And that's
if-
that's completely different from the initial brief, right? That's completely different story. That type of
Yeah.
conversation and collaboration is something that's completely different from the initial brief where we see each other for first time, more or less.
yeah,
This is-
exactly, for sure.
Yeah, we're pushing them to, what you're saying is that it's highly important to push collaboration throughout the whole project, not just at the initial phase.
Yeah, throughout the whole phase. And even what I'm thinking now, what we haven't done much, is that it will be best if when we complete a presentation project,
Yeah.
to see how the client delivers it,
Yeah.
if we need to fine tune it a little bit. We've done
Even
it
further?
Yeah, even
Okay.
further.
Yeah, sometimes we
We've
do
done
that
it,
though.
yeah, but not as much.
Yeah, sometimes we do that, but not every single time, and it's for so many reasons. Like, but it's,
Yeah.
it makes sense to do that, especially if they're going to deliver it again, right? If they're going to deliver
Yeah.
the same or kinda the same message again, yeah, it may be extremely useful to just get up, go there, try to listen and extract as much as we can. Yeah, by the way, I remember that, I don't know, have you seen in corporate decision makers, C-level executives outsource their presentations to their assistants?
Yeah,
Because we have seen
I've seen not only in 356 Labs, but
Yeah.
every CEO that
Does
I've
that.
seen to to prepare a presentation actually outsourced.
Yeah, and the problem is that most of our quants, and that's something that we probably can push through that podcast, is that most of our quants, especially the high-level executives, are pushing that to their assistants, but then they stop collaborating with them. They just say, hey, build me a presentation for that event. And then someone is expected to build a presentation for an executive, which is, as we already learned in the last few years, completely different animal, right? Than, let's say, someone else. And the guy the gal that has to build that presentation without talking with this person is like, what are we building here?
Yeah,
like,
one of the main problems in this case is that when we're creating presentations, we definitely try to give tips about how this presentation can be better.
Yeah.
So let's say if they give us the content and we don't work on the content, we only work on the design,
Yeah.
and we have some tips to fine-tune it,
Yes.
then the person who is outsourced, who is not the person who delivers it.
who was asked to do that,
and
who is not the speaker.
He's not, however, the decision maker.
Yeah.
So he cannot answer to us, yeah, you can do that, this sounds great. Or he cannot say to us for sure that
maybe that's a good idea, or that's a bad idea. By the way, these are tips for everyone. Like if you are the person who is being assigned to those presentations for someone that's higher in the hierarchy, then you have to push for collaboration. Like otherwise you will fail. Not someone, and consequently the other person will fail. But if there is no collaboration, and we have pushed that through trainings, by the way, like every single time that question arises, especially in corporates, like my manager is asking me to build that presentation, but he then goes to a business trip. What should I do? Like you have to push collaboration obviously there. And oh man, it's scary stuff, not anything else. Okay, anything else that's kind of intriguing in terms of like all of that, the whole world that you see in terms of like the small company, the mid-size, and the corporate, and how important presentations are, and what should we kind of advise a group or that group of people there? Anything on top of your mind? Maybe from design perspective, like we are still, even though we are like pushing for collaboration, and you're from the design crew, and we haven't even mentioned design, we still maybe have to push them in regards to design too, right? In some direction, like at least give them some tips on the design and what they should be careful about in that part.
Yeah.
No matter of their size, right?
Well, as I said in episode 8, and I strongly stress on that, that whoever makes a presentation design is very important to know what's the goal of the presentation.
Yeah, okay.
So when you think about the goal, you definitely know how to make the design.
Yeah. Many people are just jumping into PowerPoint though. Like.
Yeah, it's very nice to first brainstorm, to at least sketch a bit the designs. I actually wireframe my presentation designs on a note, on just a piece of paper. What a wireframe is, that's a term in web design where you just sketch the layout of the elements that are going to be on the page.
Yeah, people who are not designers may have heard that term, but
yeah, that's why I explained it.
Wireframing, I know that.
Yeah, so I even do that, and I strongly recommend it to other people to do it as well, to just see how elements go on the slide, go on the layout, and then it's much easier.
Yeah, we also, like you guys you did some training recently for the TEDx event here in Bulgaria, one of the TEDx events, and one of the things that I believe we share with all of our students when we talk about SWI design is say go analog, like don't push directly to PowerPoint, try bring what like. Even
though I'm a very big fan of digital, sometimes when it comes to design, it's a very good idea to start analog.
Yeah, especially for presentations that are important, right?
Well, but people say I don't have the time for that. if you think about it, when you have to fix it
Yeah.
afterwards, you will you spend the same time.
And yet at the same time, I will never forget that presentation that we worked on where people are like, why don't we have a presentation ready 2 hours later? 2 hours later. And then at the same time, this is a presentation that potentially can win that client, that same person, almost $1 billion. And they're like, why are we spending more than 2 hours on this? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What's going on here? Like, this is so how broken that world is actually. And I believe you have seen it now in the last 1 year. Even though we push them so hard, they're like,
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool to see that maybe at least what I believe we are seeing, all of us, and in regards to the whole team, and I believe our country and the clients that we see, is that once you do it right, then there is no going back. Like you worked on a project that you designed one presentation and then 4 VPs or 3 or 4 VPs were, I believe, 3 or 4. 3
We
more
had
per people.
three more,
or
so
4.
we had in total actually 5 presentations,
Okay,
because we
so-
had one for print, one for live. That was the main one, and
Okay.
then we had 3 more people with live presentations.
Yeah, which came to us because they saw the first presentation, they saw theirs again and said,
This is so impressive. We have to.
yeah, we
be
have
the
to be on
same.
the same level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have created a lot of both presentations for live and then transform them to something that's a document, more or less. Let's end on some tips and tricks in regards to, hey, what's the difference between those two, and how should people, designers and non-designers, approach that one? Because it's very cool that, or at least it will be cool if people kind of start seeing the difference between those two files, even though they are files. So what can we say there?
Yeah, it's cool that clients are now asking for that.
Yeah, it's more and
that.
more awareness in the last few
Yeah.
years. Like they're like, presentation is not the same as document. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Like, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. So back on suggestions, ideas there.
Yeah. Some clients need a live presentation to support their words while they're talking. However, they need to send it also over email, or they need to print it out for people to look at notes while they're presenting, or just to have the notes for after the event.
Yeah.
This can be very useful when you're presenting a product, because the product has some specifications that you cannot address during the event.
Yeah. Potentially. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or if not many people give their prices straightforward, but if you want to give some prices in that leaflet, let's say, or this printable presentation, you can do it so that people can see it after the event. You don't need to talk about prices on the event.
Yeah, but these are very different in terms of like how much content is there inside of the, right?
So the main difference is that on the live presentation you need as less words as possible, because there's a speaker who speaks words.
Yeah.
So you need it to be as visual as possible.
As simple as
And
like,
as
as
simple,
visual as simple.
yeah, because you can over deliver visuals as well.
Yeah, that's kind of true if you think about it. Yeah. And for the document?
And the document needs to be easily readable.
Okay.
So yes, again, you have the ability to put more text, because people will have their time to spend on. But again, you need to think about simplicity and having the text as readable as possible. Sometimes less text is more readable, because when you see a big block of text, you're like, oh no, I'm 3rd grade again. I need to read my book for.
By the way, do we recommend sending that document, or because that question, I really like that question. I always remember that question when I was asked back then, like, are you going to send the presentation after your talk ends? Like that was probably the most often asked question. Are you going to send this presentation afterwards so that we can see it? And people don't understand that these are completely two different types of files. But we recommend sending the presentation in terms of like PowerPoint format or keynote format, or do we recommend, for example, for the doc to be PDF or whatever?
I generally think it's best to have it in a PDF form because you don't want people to be touching your sensitive source files. Because as you showed in many events of ours, and I hope maybe you'll talk about it more in a podcast, sometimes you might forget sensitive information in your source file.
We have that in the course, by the way.
Yeah, we have a course in which we're talking about
academy.356labs.com. Plug in here.
Shameless, Yeah, so that's one of the reasons where when PDF is better. Also, sending a PDF, you know that everybody can open it because PDF can be opened through a web browser.
Yes.
And the presentation won't be broken. The fonts, you know that the fonts that you used are going to be the same.
Yeah.
However, if you open a PPTX or Keynote, the fonts might not be the same.
Might not be. Final tip. Many people are complaining that their presentations, once they export them to PDFs or just the presentations themselves, are very large because they're using now like really cool photos or something inside of the presentation. So how do they compress them? What do we use internally, or what would you suggest people use for compressing their presentations? Anything on top of your head?
Well, you can use the compressing function in PowerPoint.
Okay,
However, I don't recommend it because it very messes up the quality.
Okay.
What we usually do, the designers, is that we try to export first the images in smaller size, however in a good quality from the professional programs that we use, Photoshop.
So the client or the person who is asking for a presentation can demand that.
Yeah, can ask the designer to try at least.
Yeah, to try. Okay.
Yeah. Something else that we do is we use this program called NX Powerlight, and we compress our files through that. It doesn't break the quality as much.
Yeah, it's paid though. But
it's paid, yeah.
It's paid though, but it's a really, really one of the, I believe the whole presentation industry uses, especially the cool companies in our industry, we use that software. By the way, for the people who won't pay for that software, even though we are not selling that software whatsoever, it's just a good piece of software, and you can try it out. I believe they have a free version of it, which is limited to like 100 megs or a gig, or 100 megs, I believe.
I'm not
it's
familiar.
it's called wecompress.com. So you can go to wecompress.com. We have shown this, by the way, recently.
I didn't know that they're the same.
It's the same. It's the same algorithm behind.
Okay.
It's created by the guys at NX Powerlight, but it has the limitation that the file has to be, I believe, not more than 100 megs.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a presentation that's larger than 100 megs, then you have to buy the paid version. But behind the scenes, it's actually NX Powerlight. And for people who don't have the budget to buy or are building 2 presentations per year, let's say, wecompress.com is a saver. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, final tips. Or nothing else. That's the dog stopped barking. I don't know, but we are calm now here. Okay, final tips.
Well,
in terms of design, let's say.
I don't recall something special. I wanted to talk more about Keynote, but maybe we can make a whole other episode about Keynote.
Yeah. What do you like about Keynote that much? Why do you want a separate episode on Keynote?
I actually like Keynote a lot.
Okay.
You haven't played around with it that much.
Okay.
I had this opportunity in the last few months, and I like mostly that it. Well, as every Apple design is very clean, and it helps you make more beautiful slides.
If you're not a designer.
If you're not a designer,
yeah.
I always think in that perspective. Yeah. What if you're not a designer? And also the hugest advantage of Keynote is that the transitions are very good, very smooth, and even though most of them are found in PowerPoint, there are some that are only in Keynote, and they are not like the origami transition that we mentioned in episode 8. They're actually good ones that you can use.
And make sense.
Yeah, they make sense. They're not like the origami transition in PowerPoint.
People will be shocked, by the way, people will be shocked how many of the presentations, and we kind of support this to be true, like we kind of support people who are into presentations to look at the events of Apple, to look at the events of Google, to look at the events of Microsoft, where all of them are building and spending so much money on their presentations. Because if people think that those presentations are like coming from nowhere and are being built for 1 hour or something like that,
no.
Surprise, surprise. No, and there is no way. But they can, I believe they can go in there and just inspire themselves with what has been done. And for example, we are kind of, when we see them, like, this is Keynote behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
If you're a Mac user and you're using PowerPoint, why don't you take a look at...
If you are a Mac user, definitely use Keynote, because PowerPoint is not, it's actually limited for Mac, and it has some bugs. So, you know, it's not a priority for Microsoft to develop its product for Mac.
Yeah, so try it out.
It's normal.
see whether or not it works, even though Microsoft are kind of changing, but it's slowly happening. But yeah, if you're a Mac user, try Apple Keynote for sure, definitely. Especially the transitions are insane. Okay, that's one of the longest episodes that we ever recorded.
I like to talk, sorry.
We may want to cut that down on 2 before the dog barks and after the dog barks. We'll see how it goes. I'm joking. We are not going to do that. But yeah, that was kind of useful. That was kind of interesting episode having you here, and hopefully that will be useful for the people who are going to listen to that one afterwards. Maybe a year from now, we'll see. Who knows? The tricks are still relevant, even a year from now, so they can use them. So yeah, thanks, Milena, for being part of the podcast yet again. You will be for sure. For sure, we have to do one more on Keynote for sure.
Yeah, now that I've mentioned it.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah. And for everyone that's been listening, go check us out on all of the other platforms. Like, we are kind of everywhere, more or less. Like
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
SoundCloud, obviously, Spotify.
Oh yeah, I thought that you're talking about social media.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram.
Come and say hi on LinkedIn. We are very active there.
Yeah, and our blog and the academy and we are everywhere. So go check us out.
And for the designers, you can find us on Behance.
That's true. That's kind of true also. Okay. Thanks very much, guys, for listening, and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Bye.